about the tone deafness of the Biden-Harris administration and this whole thing. First of all, it was Trump first that was on the ground in Georgia, in there, talking about the relief efforts, doing something. And then it wasn't but 2 days later that Biden shows up. And then after that, Vice President Kamala Harris goes and does her dog and pony show, which is really what it was a dog and pony show. But the Biden-Harris administration could not be more tone deaf when it comes to this. Here you go. You've got a FEMA announcement. This is from FEMA, dated October 3rd, 2024. Biden-Harris administration provides more than $20 million to Hurricane Helene survivors. Ongoing search and rescue operations continue in North Carolina. And so they've got this whole release by FEMA about the support they're going to give. They've given more than $20 million in flexible upfront funding. More than 5,000 personnel from across the federal workforce are deployed, including more than 1,500 from FEMA. To date, FEMA has shipped over 9.3 million meals, more than 11.2 million liters of water, 150 generators, that's nothing, and more than 260,000 tarps to the region. These are for 8 counties in Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina. 8 counties in Tennessee and other areas of Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. So you're talking about basically a 500-mile swath of destruction from Florida on up to the Northwest. And they're providing $20 million so far in flexible upfront money. Wow, that sounds like a lot of money, $20 million. Except that the very next day, of course, FEMA puts out that press release on February 3rd. But the very next day comes this statement from Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State. United States provides humanitarian assistance in response to the escalating crisis in Lebanon. Well, what are we giving them in Lebanon? Oh, the United States will provide nearly $157 million in new U.S. humanitarian assistance to support populations affected by conflict in Lebanon and the region. So the Lebanese people, which they estimate about 25% of the population has been displaced by the ongoing war, that their own population, those Hezbollah terrorists that have taken up control of Lebanon, their own population has precipitated this attack on Israel to defend itself. And 1.2 million are displaced in Lebanon, and they're getting $157 million from the U.S. And this press release comes out a day after FEMA announces $20 million for U.S. citizens in need of vast amounts of support because they've lost everything. They've lost their cars. They've lost their homes. They've lost all their possessions. They barely hung on with their lives. There's some that are still, unaccounted for. And there's $20 million towards that relief effort. I'm sure there's going to be more. But relatively speaking, they announced $157 million for a crisis assistance in Lebanon. And I read another report where I believe Lebanon itself has received over $300 million in just the last year. So this isn't the end of just the Lebanese assistance as well. And that's where your government stands. Now, there's been also a lot of issues about whether or not the government has been funding from FEMA funds, whether or not they've been funding the illegals or not. And this was a little bit cleared up today when Maria Bartiromo on her show, she had Tulsi Gabbard on, and they discussed this clip from 2022 where Karine Jeanpierre actually says that that's the case. Take a listen.
The White House is trying to tell us that, no, this is 2 different pools of money. We didn't use FEMA money for the illegals, but Karine Jeanpierre actually told us what they were doing back in 2022. Watch this. It's absolutely outrageous. Listen.
FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants. We'll continue to do what we can as a federal government to support these cities as we rebuild our asylum processing system after it was gutted by the Trump administration.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Busted and busted again, Tulsi. She just told us what she was doing in 2022. They've actually cleaned out the money because they gave it to illegals. Is this incompetence or do they just not care?
They just don't care. That's what it is.